Boom, we are live. Gentlemen, Nico, Conor, another iGaming weekly news. High octane, I love it. Conor, how are you doing today? Nice to have you with us as our special guest today.
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm here in Jake's absence. He's away on holiday, and I get to come in here and soak up his limelight. So everyone's a winner, I suppose. But yeah, doing very well. How are you?
Very good, very good. It's our pleasure to have you here, Conor, with the iGaming editor here, taking the stud in Jake's absence here, as Jake is somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Portugal, doing unknown things up there. But hopefully he'll be back in good spirits next week. Nico, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, and as stated, like literally every week, I'm pumped for all the topics we are about to touch, putting ourselves on the hot seat. And believe it or not, I'm pretty sure that Jake is working as an embedded correspondent somewhere in the dark, and he will come up with some decent stories. Believe it or not, but I'm not lying here.
Absolutely, I think he's meditating on some stories here in the meantime. I have taken a break from the computer for a while. I also want to mention, of course, thank you so much again, PlayZone Simpler, for sponsoring these iGaming weekly news. It's fantastic to have you with us, and I must say I love that we had a little bit of a change up here in Simpler's intro video. I was always dancing till the old song here as the countdown will happen, and now we had a really cool intro song, so I like it. Nonetheless, guys, today we have a lot of different interesting topics ahead of us here, and just to summarize a little bit what we have in front of us in this hour today. For the third time, Nico is gonna make the massive attempt to cover 10 short stories in 5 minutes. So far, we have not been successful, but we're gonna try again. Nonetheless, he's gonna cover 10 topics here to start with, just to summarize the week. After that, we are gonna jump into the Better Collective Q2 22 results. Make some interesting comparisons to Catena Media. Both companies very similar markets, similar strategies, but you can see how these two companies are now taking different directions. After that, we are gonna attempt something new today, which is a live demo. Conor here is putting his financials on at stake here. We're gonna try out the DAZN's new sportsbook live today, with Conor sitting in the UK here, and DAZN just soft launching in the UK. So we're gonna attempt to make a bet here at DAZN live today. After that, MGM and LeoVegas receives regulatory go-ahead for the $607 million acquisition, which means that the road is paved for MGM to acquire LeoVegas. We're going to talk about that. Another interesting point that is emerging now is again, going into the German markets, two organizations, Gauselmann Group and Novomatic, are seemingly dominating the German market with so far having been able to get a lion's share of the few licenses that have been given out so far by the regulator. And I know that Nico has some interesting insights on that front. And like we say every week, it's not an iGaming weekly news report if we don't talk about California. We are going to do that today again, with the news that the California Republicans are now joining the Democrats in the state of California to oppose Prop 27 here in California. And finally, as well, if we have time, we're going to talk about Alwyn, who is considering a SPAC merger, and they have announced an extraordinary general meeting on the 7th of September to float the idea of going public through a SPAC merger on the New York Stock Exchange. So quite interesting, and as always, a super interesting hour ahead here. So please get ready, and here we go, basically. So Nico, as a starting point here, 10 news stories in 5 minutes. And to spice it up a little bit today, I told Nico before the recording that we have a little bit of a surprise, because I have a challenge for you, Nico, today. Okay, do you want to know what that challenge is?
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Yes, okay, very good. So I have here a Rubik's Cube in my hand, for those who are not doing right now. And we're gonna have a competition today. Who is going to finish first? Nico's 10 stories or my Rubik's Cube? How does that sound?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All
But
right.
don't exchange it. Don't exchange it. Putting this one down, right? Not seeing in the video and just come up with another one, right? So
all right. Yeah, exactly. You never know. You never know. All right. Shall we give this a go, Nico?
yes, just
All right. I'm
start
pretty
things off.
rusty in my Rubik's Cube skills, so we'll see how this goes today. Okay. All right. Elizabeth, start the clock. Let's do it.
Perfect. So, no week without another AML failing. SpreadX has been ordered to pay £1.4 million as Gambling Commission continues to demand regulatory settlement. So, SpreadX offers a combination of online casino, fixed odds, sports betting, sports spread betting, and financial spread betting. For which they are regulated by the UK Gambling Commission and the Financial Conduct Authority, FCA. So what has been the breach? It's pretty simple. Social responsibility failures included allowing one customer to deposit 1.7 million and lose £500,000 during the course of 1 month period. So that has been one of the failings. They have been fined with 1.4 million. Another one from the UK, the English cricketer Ryan Davis has been suspended or received suspended ban for betting. The England and Wales Cricket Board, shortly ECB, has announced that it has issued a 6-month suspended ban against the former professional batsman and wicketkeeper Ryan Davis, who has admitted the charges that he has placed 181 bets on cricket matches over a 6-year period, and now he has been banned from the sports. Another week, another story of lottery.com. They are facing potential NASDAQ delisting, and investors are joining forces to sue the company over compliance failures. So we've been always like every week speaking about the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, has been forced to leave the company. CEO stepped down as well. Oh my gosh, there you go. Yeah, nearly finished. Okay, putting some pressure on it. Thanks, Pierre. So, staying in the US, Massachusetts regulators take first retail sportsbook steps. So Massachusetts is a regulated sports market already. So the bill has been signed into law earlier this month in August, and it allows up to 15 online sportsbook, but they are not yet live. So 5 properties, namely MGM, Wynn, Penn Entertainment, as well as Raynham Park and Suffolk Folks, are pushing for a quick turnaround from the bill signing to the first bet, so they can capture as much as possible of the lucrative 2022 NFL football season. So within all other jurisdictions as well, NFL is key, as it is in Massachusetts as well. So then Pennsylvanians against gaming expansion urges skill games shutdown. So an NGA called the Pennsylvanians against gaming expansion, they have called for tightening the state law and showdown of illegal skill games that the group suggests it's costing the region hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you're not familiar with how the states in the US actually coordinate to each other, so Pennsylvania is to the left of New York and New Jersey. So pretty much in the middle of the highest volume gaming sector. Staying in the US, New Hampshire sports betting handle decreases to 42.7 million in July, while Atlantic City casinos see revenues almost flat in Q2 at $186 million. Then another interesting story is the Australian regulator considers a crypto U-turn and seeks gambling industry input on a draft regulation. First of all, shout out to our man, Tim Heath, who shared this information, and he has been asked by a chairperson of the Northern Territory Racing Commission, short NTRC, if he can help, or if the group can help by implementing or discussing cryptocurrency as one of the valid payment options in the gaming industry in Australia as well. So the chairperson stated, however, Chairperson Alistair Shields stated, however, the rise in acceptance of cryptocurrency in various arenas and the number of requests from licensees has caused the Commission to reconsider the matter of cryptocurrency as a valid payment option in gaming. Then Norwegian operators asked to reduce television advertising as well. Portugal launches public tender for land-based casino as well. And now, last but not least, the heading over to the UK once again. The UK gambling minister, Chris Philp, hints online gaming are a likely target of the upcoming white paper. As the eminent UK gambling white papers get closer to its publication date, Gambling Minister Chris Philp has given a new indication that online casinos and slots will be in the spotlight of the new regulation, which is highly anticipated by each and everyone being licensed in the UK, and we've been speaking about this for quite some time as well. So fingers crossed, and we are still thrilled to see the final white paper. That's it. 10 and 5.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I screwed up with the upper layer here. I'm rusty with the Rubik's Cube, but yes, we got good work, Nico. You won this one. Fortunately, we didn't make any exuberant bet, so yeah, congratulations to that. Although I must say I'm a bit clueless what you actually said. But maybe next week, Nico, we can work on this one instead. I hope you can see. This is a really screwed up Rubik's Cube. That is,
it looks like a nightmare.
It looks like a Rubik's Cube from Interstellar, the movie, when they go into like the different dimensions. Or we can try it, or we can make it easier with the children. Anyway, good work, Nico. It was a good challenge, and you won this one. So kudos to you.
But in the end, to be honest, it's not about winning. It's all about giving some of the topics which we don't touch while discussing this as the famous and dynamic duo. Adding the German bratwurst as well to our audience, and as said so often, please feel free to comment on each and everything we state and we are talking about. It's we can barely just touch down on all of the topics in that much detail as our audience will do and can do. So please feel free to comment on each and everything we actually do.
Absolutely. Thank you for that disclaimer, Nico. We are going to jump into the first story of today here, which is the Better Collective quarterly earnings that was released earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a little summary here of the report. Basically from Better Collective, what we see here on the screen is a summary of the financials. The Better Collective reported a pretty strong quarter with 40% increase in revenue year over year. Up to 56 million euro revenue. However, they had a decrease in EBITDA of -3% compared to the same quarter of last year. This was mainly due to investments into their North American assets. The cash flow increased by 102%, up to 22 million. And new direct deposits with plus 93%, up to 387,000 new customers, basically. Let's see here. So we're going to give some more kind of context here on these numbers by looking at the revenue quarter per quarter. here, and we can see obviously here, those who are listening, basically we're looking at quarter-to-quarter revenue from quarter 2020 up until this quarter. And as we mentioned just now, there is a 40% increase in revenue compared to last quarter, but a quite significant decrease in revenue to the last quarter of Q1 2022. This is because Better Collective's revenue is more and more being derived from the North American market. And for those of you who have followed the iGaming podcast or these weekly news stories, you will know that the North American sports betting markets are much more seasonal than the European markets are. In Europe, we kind of have an active sports calendar all year round, whereas the Americans, they have a quite seasonal sporting calendar, and the Q2 is a lull quarter where there's essentially only baseball and golf really in the American calendar. And so it is expected to see a decrease in this quarter for organizations that are this heavily tilting towards North American revenue. Also, they are talking about here that they are still deriving 76% of the revenue from Europe and rest of the world, whereas 24% is being derived from the North American market. This can be compared then to Catena Media, which now derives more than 50% of the total revenue from the North American market. So Catena Media especially are leaning more and more towards North America here. I thought it was interesting as well just to compare the market caps between Catena Media and Better Collective. And it really tells the story of where investors see the future in between these two companies, the future investment opportunities. And so Better Collective, they have a market cap of around 750 million. This is the valuation of the company according to the shareholders. Whereas Catena Media only has a market capitalization of 250 million, so 1/3 that of Better Collective. And still, Catena Media is actually publishing a higher EBITDA, higher earnings than what Better Collective is. Essentially, what the investors are saying is that they believe that Better Collective's strategy is they are on a better path than Catena Media is, essentially, and they believe that in the future, while they are not, Better Collective today is not generating as much EBITDA as Catena Media is, they believe that in the future, Better Collective will kind of accelerate away from Catena Media. It's quite interesting because it's a massive gap in the marketing cap. Like I said, it's the market cap of Better Collective is 3 times that of Catena Media. So it's quite interesting. And if we compare the revenue in the last quarter, Catena Media, they generated 74 million euro revenue versus Better Collective 56. So essentially, Catena Media is generating almost 50% more revenue than Better Collective. And still, again, we're going back to the market cap here. Investors are expecting a Better Collective to do great things as we move forward here into the future. So those are just some insights here on my end. And lastly as well, I want to just bring up a chart here from Catena Media just to kind of showcase a little bit more from their latest quarterly report where Catena Media is publishing flat revenue in the last compared to Q2 2021 and almost even flat compared to Q2 2020. And this is where investors are bullish on Better Collective because Better Collective year by year are significantly increasing the revenue, whereas Catena Media's revenue year on year seems to be flat. And the same goes here for the adjusted EBITDA of Catena Media, which has actually decreased year on year, both compared to Q2 2021 and Q2 2020. So in other words, Catena Media is actually earning less money compared to 2021 and 2020 than what they are in Q2 2022. And so that's the story basically that is unfolding now between Better Collective and Catena Media. Catena Media are earning more revenue today, but the indication is that Better Collective is seemingly catching up to Catena Media, doing things wrong.
I don't know if you've got Pierre, if you've maybe got the H1 figures there. What I'm getting is Catena revenue was 28.9 million euros in Q2. And these graphs are a bit odd because you've got sort of a scale on either side, but I just think that's worth pointing out. So in fact, for Q2, Better Collective are nearly double in revenue. But of course, Catena's managed to secure the higher margin and got a better EBITDA result on that.
Oh yes. This is a good point. This is why we should fact check each other when we are doing these live segments. Thank you, Conor. That's why you're the editor here at iGaming Next. But this has been the story kind of leading up to in the last, say, 1 or 2 years. Has been basically Better Collective catching up to Catena Media, and even say a year back where the story was a bit different. It was still the fact that Better Collective had a much higher market capitalization than what they do at the moment. So yeah, interesting. Any other kind of thoughts from you here, Conor? Obviously, we reported on this during the week at iGaming Next.
Yeah, I think another thing that's interesting, as you pointed out, looking at North American or US revenue as a percentage of revenue. So at Catena, that now accounts for more than half of total revenue. So they brought in 14.9 million euro from North America, while Better Collective brought in 13 million from the US compared to sort of 43 million in Europe. So more like a quarter of their total revenue, but their growth rate is much, much faster there. So they were up 90% year on year in the US, while Catena just grew 20%. And I think one of the really important factors in that moving forward is going to be the media partnerships that we've seen recently, and particularly those state-by-state local media partnerships. And you can see Catena are starting to catch on to that because they recently signed their first major North American media deal with NJ.com, which of course is a New Jersey-focused news, entertainment and sports website, I believe. Whereas Better Collective has really, really hit the ground running in terms of those kinds of partnerships. So they've got partnerships with the New York Post, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Chicago Tribune. And yesterday, or a couple of days ago, when that report came out, the Q2 report, they announced a new partnership with Boston.com. So they're obviously ready to hit the ground running in Massachusetts as soon as that market launches. So I think that's a really intelligent way of getting into these markets, and a way of providing a kind of mutually beneficial partnership where you've got benefits for the media outlets themselves, and of course massive benefits for affiliates like Better Collective, and then of course that's going to benefit the market generally and the operators and the suppliers. So it seems to me they're onto a winning strategy in the US, and of course if that 90% growth rate continues, then it won't be very long at all before they overtake Catena in that market.
Absolutely. It's also interesting to point out, we talk a lot about geographical distribution of revenue in the iGaming industry, and how as an operator, affiliate, or a supplier, you don't want to be exposed too much to a single market. Now, Catena Media especially, and also Better Collective for that matter, are seeing the United States as the number one full force growth market. But the question is, if these two affiliates will continue to build the revenue and focus on this on the North American opportunity, as we've seen in Europe, if we start seeing headwinds and if there's a change in the markets or in the States, then obviously they would be quite exposed to this single market. And Catena Media has already communicated that they are seeing headwinds in Europe, and the idea for Catena Media is to kind of look at an exit strategy almost from Europe, obviously looking to offload the Us Gamblers brand and so on and so forth. But what happens if the kind of the gas runs out, the steam runs out of the North American market? That's it's interesting to me, and I wonder if these traditional affiliates will look into other verticals rather than only iGaming. I know that Catena Media talked about exploring affiliation within the crypto scene, for example. Now this was kind of before the crypto crash happened, and perhaps those opportunities have changed now in the macro climate. But it's still, it will be interesting to see how they will kind of tackle the next coming kind of like 1 or 2 or 3 years, where they will find growth if the conditions change in the North American market, because it can go one or either way. The risk profile increases essentially. Yes. All right, good stuff, guys. Shall we try to do something we haven't done before, which is taking on the challenge of doing an actual live demo here, right, in the live stream today. And hello, Richard, Urban, Katie, Bogdan as well for joining us. Nice to have you guys with us here today. But essentially, the news broke here. Conor, do you want to go into this perhaps? The fact that DAZN, I still call it DAZN. It's supposed to be DAZN.
Yeah. I always thought it was DAZN, yeah.
DAZN, yeah. DAZN has soft launched in the UK. Their new DAZN Bet, basically. Can you go into this story a little bit more, Conor, and explain what we're going to attempt to do here today?
Yeah, so it launched this week, and it's the first market where DAZN has set its product live. It's still in a beta phase, so we don't know for sure what's going to change as that progresses from the current version. But it's operated in the UK by a company called One Click Limited, which is a UK GC licensed business headquartered in Malta. And the DAZN management team has described this beta launch as a kind of learning phase. It's very much experimental. And they want to try and gather some information about how their own subscribers will interact with this service. And I suppose they have no shortage of things to learn about the UK market specifically in that time. I'm sure most of our listeners have been following this story anyway, but DAZN is a sports streaming service which has been looking to leverage its sports audience across the globe for, probably the last couple of years at least. It's been looking into this, into setting up its own sports betting and iGaming brand, and that's where DAZN Bet was born. And so that follows on from DAZN bringing on Shay Segev, the former CEO of Entain, as its CEO. He was then joined by Sandeep Tiku, who was previously the chief operating officer of Entain and is now the CTO at DAZN. And then recently in April, they announced that Mark Kemp, who was the former chief executive of Boyle Sports, an Irish bookmaker, would be brought on to head up the DAZN Bet business specifically. So, of course, we couldn't resist having a look on DAZN Bet, knowing that it was live this week. But given that I am the representative currently in the UK, I set up an account this morning, and we've been having a little look at what DAZN Bet looks like. So I'm going to attempt now to share my screen and see if we can get it onto the live stream. Somebody has to do something to...
Yeah,
there
we go.
Somebody's done it.
There we go.
So here we are on the homepage of DAZN Bet, the brand new, very exciting, totally social. Oh, wait, hang on. It looks a lot like lots of other sports books I've seen in the past. So here it is. I mean, the first thing, of course, I did was go over to the promotions tab and see what promotions are on offer. Well, here they are. It's just the one. You can bet £5 and get a £5 free bet, which is not, I don't think, the most generous offer available in the UK market at the moment. I suspect if you were on an affiliate site and comparing offers, this wouldn't be the one which would catch your attention if you were looking for a big bonus. But it's better than nothing. And as I mentioned before, we are in a beta stage, so we don't know whether that's going to change.
Nonetheless, the correspondent, the committed correspondent Conor here has decided to put his money on the line here today.
Of course.
£5 plus £5.
Of course. Well,
how does it feel, Conor?
I'll tell you what happened. I was going to put £5 in, and then I thought, oh, come on, let's bet big. It's for the weekly news broadcast. So I put a whole tenner in. Now, what we've got to do, I've read the terms and conditions because I don't like to be shafted on a bonus. I like to know what I'm getting into. So what we need to do now is place a £5 bet on any sports market at odds of 1 to 2 or greater. And then tomorrow, you see, very clever with the retention strategy, they get me to come back tomorrow for the free bet. This, for me, is just not a particularly effective way of bonusing, to be honest. And the other reason I put £10 in is I thought we could have a couple of bets, and I thought, well, perhaps we'll bet on the most beloved British sport, apart from football, especially for bettors. Perhaps we'll have a bet on the horse racing, and then we can get our audience to watch the broadcast. I don't know how that works with copyright law. Anyway, no chance, because one of the glaring omissions from this website is that there is no horse racing betting. Now, I didn't even realise that until after I made the deposit, because it's so ingrained in me that all sports books will feature horse racing, especially in the UK market. And of course, you've got Mark Kemp leading the business from Boyle Sports, and as an Irish bookmaker, they certainly understand the importance of horse racing for the UK and Irish markets. And so that would be my first tip to any DAZN executives watching. Please integrate some horse racing into this sports book, and because otherwise you're going to have a lot of unhappy punters in the UK. So now we need to work out what to put a bet on. And unfortunately, I'm none the wiser when it comes to football. It has to be odds of 1 to 2 or more.
Maybe we can get the I don't know, Elizabeth in the background, if we can see the chat again. Maybe the audience wants to suggest something for us to bet on as we are live here today. I mean, personally, I'm really into political betting, but I don't know if we have that opportunity.
Has to be a sports event for me to get my bonus, Pierre. I can't lose that. It's a golden opportunity right here. It's £5 free. I mean, goodness.
Yeah, fair enough. We can't lose out on the fiver here. We need to play GTO. Okay, so Elizabeth is informing us we can't get. Yeah, Elizabeth informed we can't get the chat up here, but she will display any comments that are appearing here if we have any. So if the chat has any suggestions what to place a bet on, this is your chance to put Conor's money on the line for the first and maybe for the last time. We'll see. I would go into what about ice hockey?
I was just going to say I would bet on Ding Junhui to win the next frame in the Northern Ireland Open snooker. That seems a good bet, and I can't really bet on Japan against the US, can I? And if I bet on the US, the odds are so small. I don't even get.
But Bogdan wants volatility. He is enticing you to put a small bet with really great odds. So maybe Japan is a good bet, or maybe a draw in Japan here. I mean, that's pretty good.
100 to 1, yeah.
100 to 1 for Japan to draw against USA in ice hockey.
Stranger things have happened. Bogdan, if this comes in, I'll buy you a beer next time I see you. £505 return. Right.
Go for it, Conor.
Ready? Place bet?
Yes, let's do it.
Confirm.
All right, there we go. So we have £5 for the ice hockey game that is taking place right now, actually.
Look at that. Oh. Our automated risk controls rejected your bet. Does that mean that the DAZN Bet doesn't want to risk losing 500 quid on a draw? Or is that because I'm taking on too risk because Bogdan's appetite for risk is so great?
Yes, you have been flagged for potential harm from gambling here, Conor. Unfortunately,
I think they just know I'm a sharp, and they know I'm coming to take them to the cleaners. Right, let's
all
try.
right. We'll have to bet on something else, essentially.
Let's try. Look, it's a free £8.75 if we put a fiver on Ding Junhui. I mean, Ali Carter's not a bad player, but I don't think he's got the class or the experience of Ding.
Okay. Can you explain here? What did you place a bet on now, Conor? So it's in snooker.
So yes, it's the Northern Ireland Open snooker tournament. We've got Ding Junhui, one of the best players to have come out of China in the past 10 or 15 years or so, against Ali Carter, who's not a bad British player. But we've been locked out. Something must have happened in the frame, you see, while I was explaining it. Let's see if it'll... No, not available. You see, of all the things we thought we could go wrong with a live demonstration of a sports book, not being able to place a bet wasn't one of them, was it?
Right. But these are sports that are live at the moment. We are placing live bets. So maybe if you try the ice hockey game again, maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe we get new odds here. All right, try it again. Try selection is not there. Oh no. Oh, not the way. Oh, there we go. Try it quick. This is what we need, Conor. This is gonna be the best moment of this year for you. Let's see. Okay, we're trying again for Japan versus United States in ice hockey.
Market already closed. Market already closed once again.
There you go. Okay, right. So the in-play betting features are struggling so far. I think that's fair to say.
Okay.
Let's head back to the...
How many stars? How many stars do you give the DAZN Sportsbook so far, Conor?
Out of how many? Out of 5?
Out of 20.
Out of 20, I can't be very generous. I mean, I haven't been able to place a bet. So, so far, we're struggling for stars. But I wouldn't want to be unkind because it's early days for DAZN. So we'll give them a chance. I don't want to speak ill of them. They're doing their best.
Right. We'll do 30 times a charm here. We'll go into the football category and place a bet on a game that is not actually live.
What do you think? I can't... AFC Bournemouth at 25-1. And it's also, I notice... so here we go. So you can go into each match there and find the...
All right, let's
see,
go,
these
Conor.
These are the kinds of bets I like. Correct score. But let's also... what do you think? Manchester City, Crystal Palace. I reckon 3-0 or 3-1.
I think that's a good bet, Conor. Go for it.
I can't find it.
Take a... Yeah, there you go.
3-0, 11-2. 3-1, 9-1. That'll do. Yeah, returns 50 quid. That's all right. All right. That's worth a punt. Right, there you go. So that wasn't too painful, was it? Okay.
All right. So tell us what's the bet here, Conor?
So we've got Manchester City against Crystal Palace coming up tomorrow, day after tomorrow, Saturday afternoon at 3:00, and I have put a bet on for Manchester City to win 3-1, and the odds on that are 9-1. So I've put a fiver on. Potential returns of £50. Now, shall we quickly check out the casino while we're here and see what we can do with the other fiver?
I think that the time is rushing past us here, to be honest.
Oh no! Look how long
we have 19. We have 19 minutes left in the live stream. We managed to place a bet on the sportsbook here in a game that was not live, essentially. 9-1 odds. Yeah. We'll have to follow up the game and see how it went for next week. And if Conor wins this bet, if we have 3-1 tomorrow, then he promises to buy a beer for everyone who's watching right now. Thank you so much, Conor. How generous of you.
That's it. My pleasure. Oh no, that's you know me.
Brilliant. All right, thank you so much for that. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so live demonstration here of the DAZN Bet. We managed at the end to place a bet. Just for information here, it's Sports Radar who is providing the front end and Pragmatic Solutions, who is providing the PAM platform essentially. Pragmatic Solutions also good sponsors of the podcast, so happy to see that DAZN is using one of our good partners here. Nonetheless, guys, let's move on to the next story. We have we are short in time.
One thing
Nico.
to add. One more thing to add from a content perspective. As Conor already pointed out, there's no horse betting. So what are the information, or what can we make out of this information? First of all, it's a soft launch, if I'm not mistaken, because we don't see the subscriber numbers on a country by country level from DAZN. But if I'm not mistaken, and reading in between the lines, the biggest market they actually have is in Germany. So out of their potentially roughly 10 million subscribers using their OTT over the top services, the biggest amount of customer is coming from Germany. So Germany, online horse betting isn't allowed because you need to apply for a different license. So if we just use this kind of information, soft launch in the UK, no horse betting available, although people from the UK or the Brits are quite, seeking for horse betting, this might be an indication that the next market they will launch will be Germany, and that they are using this kind of experience, their knowledge and all their findings to actually launch the same offering in Germany as well. One more thing to add, it will be, so first of all, we've seen a sports book which looks like literally every other sports book as well. We didn't see any kind of live streams. Of course, you can kind of have a peek into the sports radar widgets, but the magic of DAZN is really their live stream offerings. And then the magic kicks in as soon as you have the app-to-app calls from the DAZN streaming app and converting these customers into the DAZN Bet. But this is something we will only see as soon as the DAZN Bet app will be available in the market. And I'm just thrilled to see how they will convert on a stream by stream basis people to actually, hit the bet now button and then hand them over to the sportsbook. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is we pretty much saw a sportsbook offering we are all used to, which Pierre, you once labeled as a pumped up Excel sheet, which is not wrong. And on the bad way, we didn't see any kind of different offering as of now. But as said, the magic will kick in as soon as they will use the app-to-app calls.
Absolutely. These are great insights, Nico, and very interesting. We'll have to follow up here. As you point out, this is just a soft launch, and the integration between the live stream and the sports betting product will be interesting to see how that plays out. On to the next point here, guys. We'll have to summarize a little bit, but the story is that MGM and LeoVegas received the regulatory go-ahead for the $607 million acquisition of LeoVegas. Conor, you wrote the story at iGaming.com. Can you go into deeper exactly what has happened here?
Yes. So the official announcement was that MGM has passed all of the regulatory requirements for the acquisition. So, of course, there is a long list of things that the government requires when a business acquisition of this size takes place. And so all of those closing conditions have been met. Now, that's just in time because the acceptance period for the offer, which allows LeoVegas shareholders to accept or decline the offer, started in early June and expires next week on the 30th of August. So settlement for the shares tendered in the offer is expected to take place as soon as MGM can confirm that all of the conditions for the offer are fulfilled. That is to say, that the offer is accepted by the correct number of LeoVegas shareholders, and any other conditions that might go along with that. And provided that they're able to announce that the day after the closing of the offer period on the 31st of August, Settlement is expected to begin on or around the 7th of September. Now, we know that MGM Resorts operates BetMGM, which is one of the kind of big four online sports betting operators in the US, and it also has great iGaming capacity, and it's I believe it leads in most, if not all, of the current iGaming states. And there were some statistics pointed out by our US editor Ryan Butler the other day in one of his articles that I thought kind of illustrate why that's so important for the future of the business. So he used the example of New Jersey, where during the first half of calendar year 2022, of course, New Jersey is, I believe, still the second largest market in the US after New York, and it's certainly the most established market there. So during the first 6 months of 2022, online sportsbooks generated $309 million in revenue in New Jersey, while operators generated $815 million in online casino gaming revenue. So the difference because of the difference in the margins, as we all know, the difference in terms of how lucrative a business this is to get into is quite clear from those New Jersey figures. So it makes sense for MGM to further expand its roster of brands with an online casino specialist like LeoVegas. And also they both use lions in their marketing and branding, and so the integration will be made even easier.
I think maybe that's the main reason why MGM chose LeoVegas and not DAZN.
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. Another interesting point to mention here is that for those of you who paid attention, a couple of months ago, the news came out that LeoVegas had a visit by the Swedish financial police, who came to the office for a visit for a potential suspicion of insider trading. Now, as was pointed out at that time very clearly, is that this was not targeting LeoVegas specifically, but insider trading is potentially with an individual or individuals who took advantage of kind of the news before it broke. And if we were looking at the share price of LeoVegas, it increased quite aggressively before the acquisition was announced, or before the bid was announced by MGM. And so that was also an interesting insight. Now, after that, we haven't really heard much from how those efforts transpired, but certainly it's good news, of course, that MGM and LeoVegas received the kind of regulatory go-ahead that paves the way for this acquisition to take place, basically. Right, we have 10 minutes to go today, guys, and I want to jump into the next story as well. And Nico, I would love you to give more context here, but essentially, we covered a story end of last week, basically that in Germany, the regulator have now given out 8 licenses, the latest to Jokestar. And interesting and controversial pattern is emerging here, where a majority of these 8 licenses have been handed out to just 2 companies, which are Gauselmann Group and Novomatic, who have also had a partnership in order to acquire one license as well together. And it raises some eyebrows in the industry. And for example, we have a comment here by Feda Mekan, good friend of ours and Caparoc's co-founder, who is quoted to say here that both Gauselmann and Novomatic have had several scandals in the past and were linked to donations to political parties. So it is surprising to see that they account for such a large share of companies on the whitelist, considering the controversy here of the donations to the political parties. But Nico, can you go deeper into the story about the licensing? How many licenses do Novomatic and the Gauselmann Group share today? And what's your thoughts in general, as you obviously have boots on the ground here yourself?
So first of all, as of now, there have been 8 licenses being given out with a total of 11 websites. And the quite interesting thing is, as you already mentioned, that the majority of these licenses have been given to companies which are either directly connected to the Gauselmann or Novomatic Group or a joint venture, and or it just smells like they belong to the Gauselmann Group and or are linked in a specific way. So the last license, which has been giving out to the Joker Star GmbH, which is actually run or owned by a retail shop owner. They run roughly 160 retail slot shops in Germany. And guess what? They are one of the biggest customers of the Gauselmann Group. So even this smells a little bit like it is, or it could be linked to Gauselmann as well. So if we don't link it fully to Gauselmann, 5.5 out of 8 licenses is either giving out to Novomatic or Gauselmann. Only 2 companies can be excluded. Shout out to Damir Böhm, one of my friends from Tipwin, and the Ruleo Alpenland AG. So these are the 2 companies who are for sure not linked to either Gauselmann or Novomatic. And as already said, this just smells a little bit strange, as the overall licensing process should be very transparent, especially the decision making, taking into account that the joint venture of Gauselmann and Novomatic, Mernov, who has been rebranded to DGGS, which is called the Deutsches Gesellschaft für Glücksspiel, MBH, has been all by themselves for roughly 1 month. And as said, why either all the other applicants didn't do that well during the application process, which I doubt a little bit, or there had been some lobbying going on in the background. And as the headwinds turn a little bit or into the rough directions, they're already from one of the states, more the right-wing party. They actually asked in an official statement, in an official questionnaire, handed out questions to the official state authority, the Gemeinsame Glücksspielbehörde der Länder, GGL, and they should answer why the majority of all these licenses have been giving out to these 2 heavyweights. So it will, as said, we just see some headwinds as of now, as numbers don't lie. Roughly 70% of all licenses being giving out are either giving out to Gauselmann Group or Novomatic, and they have not been the first applicants as well. But as of now, it turns out that they obviously did something better than other companies, and this is something politicians will investigate on.
Interesting, Nico. Thanks for the insight on this front as well. I want to jump over to the last topic that we'll be able to cover today, which is again jumping over to the state of California, which is going through a referendum here, a vote in November to potentially legalize online sports betting in the state of California. This would potentially become the one of the biggest single markets in the world if California would legalize online sports betting. It's a massive prize for the industry, and we can obviously see the lobbying efforts taking place right now with this big prize in mind. Opposing this bill is a consortium of the California tribes, which currently has a monopoly on anything to do with gambling in the state of California. And as things are now playing out in the state, it's a very infectious debate that is taking place around Prop 27, and a lot of money are being poured into this campaign. It's expected to be one of the most expensive political campaigns ever in the United States. That's how big this bill is, essentially. And unfortunately for the online sports betting operators, they have been facing a lot of headwinds and a lot of different political parties and other organizations have come out against Prop 27. And the latest news now is that the California Republicans are joining forces with the California Democrats to come out against Prop 27. Nico, I know that you brought up this article earlier today when we were planning this session. Can you go more into depth with Prop 27 and the current status here with the Republicans now joining the Democrats?
Yeah, sure. So, on a weekly basis, we see updates on California, and we just know, as you already mentioned and pointed out like 3 or 4 weeks ago, this is one of the biggest campaigns California or the United States have ever seen, with an estimated costs just for the campaigns. First of all, the proposing campaign and the opposites. And they spent roughly $250 million on advertising on TVs. So whenever you're in California, you can't hide from these adverts, and we've already seen these adverts. So last week, we just stated that the Major League Baseball, MLB, are in the favor of Prop 27. So they are for Prop 27. 2 weeks before, we've stated that the Democrats are against Prop 27. And as of now, the California's Republican Party, shortly CAGOP, has joined the Democrat rival in opposing Proposition 27 as the sports wagering legislation race in the Golden State actually heats up. And the overall decision will be made in November. And I'm pretty sure that on a weekly basis, nearly on a weekly basis, we will see either one of the big forces actually being for Prop 27 or being against 27. And the official statement from Jessica Millen Patterson, she is holding the chair of the California Republican Party, is Prop 27 breaks the promise made to California's Native American tribes to grant them the sovereign right to operate gaming in California in order to improve the lives of their communities across the state. We stand with California tribes and oppose Prop 27. So as of now, we see the Democrats and the Republican Party opposing Prop 27. And as said, this will for sure not be the last word on this one.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, there is obviously the Prop 26 as well, which is the tribes proposition to legalize retail sports betting in the state of California under the tribe's control, essentially. And interestingly enough, the Democrats who are opposing Prop 27, they have come out to be neutral to Prop 26. And the Republicans have come out against Prop 26 as well, essentially. So the Republicans are against both Prop 26 and Prop 27 here. So it's also worth pointing out. And a final little point here as well is this tweet here from Sam McQuillan, who is pointing out here that $50 million is what the consortium of the online sports betting operators spent in the month of July alone to lobby for Prop 27, whereas the Native American tribes spent $55 million to fight Prop 27 here. So just in the month of July alone, more than $100 million were spent to campaign either for or against Prop 27. And we are talking about a vote that is taking place in 3 months' time, essentially. So you can just expect these numbers to increase here as the month goes by. But so far, according to polling, most Californians are against the bill. There is a high awareness of this bill, but most of the Californians are so far against. So there is obviously an uphill battle that the online sports betting operators are they need to climb essentially. So it will be interesting to see how this developed as well. Brilliant, guys. We are, as always, a little bit over time here, which is the result of a good discussion, but very dynamic today, Nico. Thank you so much for the great insights here. And Conor, what a demo. We're holding all the fingers and toes crossed here for this very volatile and high stakes bet that we managed to place here in the end at the DAZN Bet. And we obviously need to follow up here next week to see how this actually played out in the end. But with that, I'm going to thank everyone for tuning in today. Thank you to PlayZone as well. Thank you to Simpler for keeping the lights on here at the iGaming Next weekly news. And what do you say, Conor, Nico? We'll head down to the beach. It's the end of summer for a little margarita today, I think.
Sounds good to me. I think we've earned it.
I think we earned it. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you here next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.